Hey guys, welcome back to the Park Cinemas podcast. I gotta be honest, this is like my fourth attempt trying to record just the basic intro info and then hopefully transition over to the interview, which I hope you guys will like. Um, but first things first, upcoming show is Deadpool and Wolverine, which is going to be huge this weekend. We do have a wine of the month, which is Heroe from Sculpterra, and we have a Pinot Noir and a Viognier. And in a little bit, you'll hear the interview I have with the winemaker, Paul, which he tells us a little bit on how he started, and then we talk about a little bit about the label Heroe, and what went behind that, and it's kind of cool to get a little backstory on it. So, big movie coming out, big weekend. I know it's the last weekend of the fair, but make some time for us, and I'm sure you'll enjoy your time here at Park Cinemas. Other movies we'll still have is Long Legs, Despicable Me 4, Fly Me to the Moon, and Twisters. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoy. Not a lot to talk about in this episode before the interview, so I hope you guys enjoy. I'm trying to do more video recording so I can get outside of my bubble of not liking being on video. But you guys see me all the time at the theater, so why not try to get out of my comfort zone? So hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk to you soon. See you soon, and see you at the movies. Park Cinemas podcast here. I'm already recording, so I'm just gonna slide into it. I'm here with Paul. Tell us a little bit about. So that's gonna be I don't know if you want to look at the camera or not, but you can. It's the one right in the middle here. Hello, everybody. I did a quick. I don't really follow all the wines that I follow the wines, but I don't go and search all the posts that you guys make and stuff like that. But you're on the Sculpterra Instagram often because you are the winemaker.
That's correct.
Tell me how you got into that, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for having our wine at the movie theater.
Yeah.
I grew up here in Paso, and actually, I live on Lene Road, so we're just down the same road, right where we are right now. So it's really close to here. It's really nice. Yeah, I grew up here in Paso Robles, went to Paso Robles High, went to Cal Poly, did the wine and viticulture major.
Okay.
I graduated high school in 2004, graduated college in 2009, and I did both viticulture and enology. So I did the grape, learned all the farming side, and the winemaking as well. So, but I was not, when we have a really interesting story. So I grew up on the property. My parents are the owners. My mom and dad bought the land in 1979. We moved here in 1989. I was only 2.5 years old when we moved here. Mm-hmm. Initially, my parents bought the land to raise their 3 kids in the countryside. I'm the youngest of 3, Faith, Luke, and Paul. I'm the youngest. And initially, their plan was to have land to have horses and just room to spread out. And they left L.A. to live in the countryside. My dad's a family doctor. He's still a full-time doctor here, and my mom was a nurse. And so they met in a hospital in Los Angeles, got married, had us 3 kids, and moved out of LA and bought land in Paso. What's interesting was at the time in the late 1970s, Paso was the least expensive land in all of California, or one of the least expensive lands. As they drove up further towards San Francisco, land got more expensive, and then south towards Santa Barbara, land got more expensive. So Paso in the 1970s, 1980s was really undiscovered. Not a lot of wineries, just a handful of them back then, and it was just that stop between Los Angeles and San Francisco. So not a lot going on in Paso back in that time. But anyway, so my dad and mom bought land. They bought the original back 80 acres, and they bought an additional 160, which is now all continuous, one big property. And like I said, they were really into animals, horses. My mom does competitive horse cutting. She was doing that for quite some time, so they wanted land to have horses and horse boarding and have friends over. But my dad's the kind of guy that once he has property, he wants to utilize it. So he planted pistachios right away because which I brought a bag of our pistachios here. He did a lot of research, talked to the county ag commissioner and a couple people locally, and he wanted to plant, wanted to go right in and plant some wine grapes. But a lot of people thought in the early 80s, it's too cold in Paso. You'll get a spring frost and you'll lose those new buds that push. So grapes aren't the best choice in Paso, but almonds, pistachios, walnuts, those are hardy. They need 1,000 hours of cold temperatures to go dormant and come back every year. So he planted pistachios right away. And then towards the 1990s came around, and lots of vineyards were now being established in Paso, and more people were learning that Paso's climate is a lot like Napa's climate. We've got the oak trees for the rolling hills, the big swing, the big change in temperatures, 100 degrees in the day, 50 degrees at night in the summer.
I learned this one, Mediterranean climate.
Yep, exactly. So it's our property is conducive to premium wine grapes. So my dad took the plunge and planted vines in 1993. We sold all of our grapes from 93 to 2005. We planted Merlot, Zinfandel, lots of Cabernet Sauvignon. Most of our properties planted in Cab. And it did great. And he was really happy with it. And we sold to local wineries in Napa. And in the back of my dad's mind, he thought, wow, this is really great. I know we have awesome fruit. It'd be nice to make our own wine at some point. And he saw that his son took an interest in it, and I loved all the farming parts of it and being outside and learning how to prune and tractor drive and take care of the grapes. But he wanted to open a tasting room, but it didn't really come together for him until he met John, who did our sculptures. If you've been to our tasting room at Sculpterra, you've seen we have a sculpture theme, which was all done by one man. We met John Jagger at church. He went to my dad's Bible study, and we got talking to him, and he said, hey, you know what? I make sculptures. Right now I'm doing small sculptures, but I can make large sculptures, and we could work together. You provide the space, I'll make the sculptures. And, we could have a tasting room with the theme of my art and just bring something new and different to the area. So both my dad and John Jagger just had this idea together. They really came together. It made a lot of sense. And we opened the tasting room in 2007. And John Jagger spent almost 3.5 years to build all the sculptures that you see at the tasting room right now. And it's just a remarkable idea. It was something new and different. I remember when we first opened, we're off the beaten path. We're a little hard to find, but once people discover it, they always come back. And it's the type of place where you don't have to be a wine drinker. You're just an art lover. And there's just a lot to see on the property. So we transitioned from a pistachio farm to wine grapes to we sold our fruit to lots of wineries to making our own wine in 2005, which I was the assistant winemaker back then. We had a winemaker that my dad, another doctor friend of his son was a winemaker. So we worked with him to make the wines. I was at Cal Poly during those years. Yeah,
I was going to ask, cause you said you sold your grapes up until 2005, but you started going to college 2004, 2005, right?
Yeah.
So you were already learning the whole process of everything, how you sell it. And then on top of that, you started, you got really lucky, man, not just going to school, but as you learned the stuff, you were seeing it happen at the same time. I don't think a lot of people get to do that unless they're in a trade school or something, right?
Right.
So that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really special because I was in classes learning about enology, fermentation science, plant pathology, botany, and then I was going home and doing it. And I lived in San Luis, but I would come back and forth almost every day and making the wines. And at Cal Poly, you have to do an internship, a winemaking internship. So I interned at the Cal Poly winery. I interned at another Paso winery. Then I interned for myself at my own winery. And it was just awesome just to be immersed in it. And what's interesting is that I thought I would be just the vineyard manager because we had a winemaker and who I worked under. His name was Shannon O'Neill, and he was just a very eccentric guy. Just had lots of crazy ideas. Worked super hard, and really, I learned a lot from him. But I graduated college thinking, I'll be the vineyard manager. He'll be the winemaker. But in 2007, my dad encouraged me, hey, why don't you make wine? Why don't you keep some of the grapes on your own? Why don't you do a couple tons of all the varieties? So I did a couple tons of Cab, Merlot, Syrah, Mourvedre, everything that we grow. I made a couple tons just to see if I could do it, if I liked doing it. And I really liked doing it. And it became this thing like, wow, I could manage the vineyard, get the grapes to come out just the way I want them to, and then then make the wines, be a part of that, and then take it all the way to bottling. And then it really becomes an addictive process because you constantly think about how you can improve the wines. I want to use this type of oak barrel yeast, ML bacteria. We want to ferment it in this method and age it differently. And you just learn and experiment. And I love to experiment. And I was always into trying new things. And then on top of that, we had great fruit. And I made wine at other wineries and made the wine at Cal Poly, but I could just tell that, we had high quality grapes, and there's not a lot you can do to mess it up, so to speak. When the grapes are picked and you just taste the grapes on the crush pad and you see that they're sweet with good acidity, they taste good, they've got brown seeds, everything that you want is there. Now it's just how are you going to express it? What are you going to do to express the wine and add your little part to it? But so I was hooked. So from 2007, I was hooked. And my dad, and again, he had a lot of faith in me that I should do it. I could try it out, and I loved it. And then he was, he also loved the idea. Hey, if you want to be the winemaker, go ahead and do it. And back then we were small. My first year we made 21 tons. Now we're making over 300 tons. So
what does 21 tons translate to as far as like cases?
That was only
because I'm still trying to get familiar size of cases, because
Right.
I've seen pallets of 50 cases, and this doesn't look like a lot, right?
Right. Yeah, that was so that was 20 tons. That was about 1,000 cases, 1,200 cases.
Okay.
And now we're doing 300 tons, so that's about 25,000 cases.
Jesus.
But we're probably not going to make that much every year. Now we've reached where we wanted to be, and I make over 25 wines every year with all the labels and the blends and the
Do you still
big variety.
Do you still sell any kind of grapes or anything at all, or you just stick to?
Yeah, no, we still sell a percentage of our fruit.
Okay.
And little by little, as we grow, we can utilize more of our vineyard, and with the hopes of someday we won't need to sell anything. We can just make what we grow, sell it in the tasting room or supermarkets, restaurants. As our wine label grows, we'll make more wine as needed. But yeah,
so you took over as a winemaker in 2007 before you graduated?
Yes.
Okay.
My last couple years of college. I mean, I wasn't the official winemaker, and once I graduated, and I worked with a consultant. I had a really great mentor who met with me. We'd meet once a month, and I would just go over, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm planning on picking. This is how we're going to clean things. And he really gave me a lot of confidence and helped me along the way. And yeah, we just grew a lot, and we grew fast. That was what was really remarkable. Was our first couple of years in the tasting room. Again, we were a little hard to find. People had never heard of us. But after that third, fourth, fifth year, we're now number 2 on Yelp, 3 on TripAdvisor, top things to do in Paso. One of the, we see a lot of people, and we have a lot of space where we can pour. We have outdoor bar space, indoor, the gazebos in the barrel room, so we can accommodate a lot of people.
I think you guys have concerts there, right, too?
Yep, every Saturday, Sunday. We bring in outside food trucks too.
Okay.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's been a big draw. But yeah, like you said, I'm just blessed to be in the position that I'm in, and I've loved every minute of it. And again, once you start making wine and get your feet wet in it, I just wanted to do more and more and learn, and it's hard to teach winemaking. I went to school to learn how to make wine, but really you have to experience it. It's a lot like cooking, there's a recipe.
Oh yeah, you're tasting everything you're making, as you go along. And that's one of the things that somebody taught me when I was like trying to learn how to cook and juice and stuff like that. Is like taste everything you're putting in your food. Just isolate it, taste it, make sure you're going to enjoy it, not enjoy it, at least know what you're expecting.
Exactly.
Ginger was a big thing. Like, taste the ginger. I'm like, I'm not going to eat ginger by itself. Like, you got to eat ginger by yourself. You got to at least know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
And then go from there. So I'm guessing you did a lot of ups and downs. Is there any wine specifically that kind of like you highlight more in your career so far?
Yeah, it's funny. People ask me all the time, what's my favorite wine or what do I hang my hat on? And I like making it all. I mean, certain wines provide different challenges. There's some wines that are certainly harder to make. It's, but I've just, it's all fun and it's all great. And they all provide different challenges and unique tastes and flavors. And then you get to the point where you pick grapes from the same block every year. You can start to pinpoint out, okay, the Hilltop Cab brings forth plum taste, and then our Cab in the Valley gets more herbal, spicy flavors come through, and you start seeing those tendencies every year, and then you could figure out, okay, well, when I blend them, they work out great, or the Hilltop Cab is this the fruit is so nice in it, we want to isolate that and bottle that as our flagship Cab or whatever the case may be, but like you were talking about how you taste the ingredients. I had a professor in college that said when you go to the grocery store, you should pick up a strawberry and close your eyes and smell it and tell yourself strawberry, and pick up a raspberry, cranberry, and a banana, because you think you know what those fruits smell and taste like, but we eat so quickly we don't really smell it and taste it. And when you make wine and someone says, "Oh, this wine tastes like a blackberry," well, you have to know what a blackberry tastes like, and you have to know what a ripe blackberry tastes like, and a unripe, acidic, sour blackberry tastes like. And yes, those aromatics, the phenolics that make up those tastes, are present in a blackberry and can be expressed in the wine. We don't add those flavors. It's great. People ask that. Do you add these flavors? No, these flavors are expressed during the winemaking process.
So for you to describe the tasting, did you find yourself tasting other fruits and like yourself? Like, I want to see how close I can get it to taste like kiwi, like something more acidic or something,
Right.
Like, did you find yourself like going to the supermarket and going like, I'm going to find out what a plum smells and tastes like, or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. And especially with the white wines, there's a lot of flavors that you don't maybe eat a lot, like pear and a lychee flavor. I mean, there's all kinds of exotic fruit flavors. And then what's interesting is that if grapes are picked too early, especially in a Cabernet, for instance, if you pick your Cab grapes too early and they're not ripe, they taste vegetative, green. You get flavors of dill and bell pepper and asparagus. Like, those flavors can come out in the wine because the fruity aromatics weren't developed yet. And I mean, you can smell it, and then you just train yourself on how to find it and then how to avoid it in the future. Or maybe a little bit of that taste is okay, but if the only thing you smell in the wine is if the only thing you smell in the wine is one flavor profile, you have a problem. When the wines that the wines that I try to make and the wines I like are the wines that you really get lots of flavors, a nice mouthfeel from the front, middle, back. You can, it's a all-encompassing experience where it hits your palate everywhere. And that's, a lot of that is how you sense it. If it's a little sweet, then it'll stay on the front of your palate, and on the side is more astringent and tannic, and the back is where you experience alcohol too. So if the wine is high in alcohol, you get that nice lingering finish. So I think it's good to hit all those spots on your tongue. And to do that, the grapes have to be ripe, but you also have to make the wine the right way. And again, we have amazing grapes, and most people in Paso just do a a great job because we have the climate. We have the climate to grow awesome wine grapes.
So one of the wines that I got started on when I moved back to Paso Robles in 2016 is Pinot Noir from Ascension Ridge. So when I tasted it, I was like, this is a really good, like lighter red to me, right? I wasn't too big fan of a Cab. I wasn't a big fan of like all the darker reds. And then I tasted your Pinot Noir, which we're pouring at the Park Cinemas, right? Mm-hmm. The Pinot Noir and the Viognier, we'll talk about that in a second. But the Pinot Noir, I was like, all right, I love Pinot Noir, and I had a glass of it, and it was room temperature. I didn't chill it or anything like that. It was just straightforward. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And then I had another glass, and then I pretty much finished it that night. It was a guilty pleasure. But one of the things that one of your employees that come to the theater often, this last month at least, they said that Pinot Noir is not typically grown in that part of the area.
Correct.
What did you decide to grow Pinot Noir, or was your family's decision to be like, oh, you know what, let's also grow Pinot Noir, and what helped make that decision?
Yeah, it was very interesting because we had a lot of Cabernet. We had over 60 acres of Cabernet planted on the property, and our vineyard manager at the time, he said, you know what, you guys have a lot of Cab, and there's a lot of Cab on the market because this is when we sold our grapes. And he said, you should plant Pinot Noir. It's not typically grown in Paso. It's mostly grown on the coast and a cooler climate where there's more, where it doesn't get above 80 and it's, slow ripening. But he suggested it, and people thought we were nuts. I remember a lot of people said, you can't grow that in Paso. Pinot Noir is not, it's too hot. It's going to get sunburnt. It's going to get overripe quickly. But we took the plunge and we planted over 30 acres of two clones. We have clone 77 and clone 115. And what worked out well is it's planted in the valley floor around our creek bed, but protected by this massive hill. We go from 800 feet on our height of the property down to 350 feet where this particular block is. So it gets a lot of shade in the early afternoon, so it doesn't get overexposed to the sun. And then we've, our first couple of years, again, I like to experiment. I think the first couple of years, it got overly ripe. So we picked it later than we should have, that was back in 2008, 9, 10. And then I've slowly learned that we prune it late, we pick it early, we ferment it cold, and we... also, it's picked at night because it's just such a delicate grape, and it when you're picking it, it'll just fall out of your hands onto the ground. It just falls apart. But picking it at night, the grapes stay attached to the stem more, and it comes out beautiful if it's picked at night when it's especially when it's cold. But yeah, so we've learned certain ways to treat it. Yeah, to really make it come out the best. And that's, as a winemaker, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get the best from the vineyard, and you've learned, okay, well, this, we don't want our Pinot Noir to taste like a Zinfandel. We don't want our Syrah to taste like a Merlot. We want our Pinot Noir to taste like a Pinot. Now, does it taste like a Santa Barbara Pinot? No, it's it's grown in a different climate altogether. But I'm really happy, very pleased with it because, like I said, we pick it around 22, 23 bricks. So that's the house. If the grapes are sweet, that's about that's like at the beginning of ripeness here in Paso. So we're not letting it turn into raisins. We're not letting it get overripe at all. And then I discovered a yeast that is suited for hot climate, hot climate Pinot Noir, which was invented back in, I think it was 2012. Scott's Labs, who their laboratories are in Italy, they contacted me because they knew that we grow Pinot in Paso, and they said we have a specific yeast now that was made for hot climate Pinot Noir, and it will help it retain its color, keep its delicate mouthfeel. You'll get all the flavors that you would normally get in a cool climate Pinot. It ferments slow and cold. That was a big part of it. And it's ever since then I've used that yeast, and then I don't age it in any new oak barrels. I use all once used and twice used and 3 times used barrels because again, it's very delicate. You don't want to hit it with lots of oak and hit it with long time aging and these things where it can oxidize and change. Change.
Did the laboratory that offered you the yeast or sold you the yeast, did they contact you or you contacted them? I always wonder, like, how do people connect? And they're from Italy.
Yeah, they're the salesman came to the tasting room. The salesman called me and made an appointment, and he was presenting all their products, all their tannins and yeast, and
going door to door trying to see what you want.
Exactly. And he said, "We've got this new product," and I said, "Well, we grow Pinot," and I wrote a testimonial about it. The first year, he gave me a sample of it for free if I took a picture in the vineyard of myself and wrote, my experience with it. And it's a popular yeast now because when I go to order it and get it at the local place here, they always say that they're by mid-harvest it's all gone. Everyone buys it now because it works really well. And and again, I just learned along the way how to produce it, but picking it early too, because that's a big part. I've never had a Pinot Noir taste underripe. I was just talking a second ago how if you pick Cabernet, for instance, if you pick Cabernet underripe, it tastes underripe and it tastes green and vegetative. If you pick a Pinot Noir underripe, at least in Paso, I've never had it come out green and vegetative. It just it doesn't develop that way. So it seems it'll have less alcohol, so it'll have less of a finish to it, but picking it early to get those strawberry flavors and light fruit flavors to come through, you really have to pick it early, ferment it cold, and then I don't let it age long. We bottle this Pinot 8 months in barrel. Our Sculpterra Pinot we bottle at about 11 months in barrel. So again, we don't want it to oxidize in the barrel. We don't want it to get extended age that it doesn't need. It tastes so great young. Let's capture it.
Let's go for it. Yeah. And then as far as the Viognier, for me, every time I've had a Viognier, to me, for some reason, I taste sweet. I'm not sure if I'm way off, but every time I have a Viognier, I'm like, oh, this is good at like the end of dinner or something. For me, like that's what it registered in my head. And then yours was really good. I did also have it at room. Did I have it at room? Yeah, I had it at room temperature and I had it cold. And I think either way was fine with me. So with this one, like, how would you describe a Viognier? Is it supposed to be? Is it like, maybe I'm just crazy and my palate's weird, but is it supposed to be like sweet-ish or like a little crispy when it's cold?
Yeah, it can be sweet. Some people make it sweet or partially sweet, but it's supposed to be served cold, very cold. And I always tell people it's Paso's best white wine for sure, and it's really what matches our climate the best out of all the white wines. We can grow Chardonnay, Sauv Blanc, Pinot Grigio, the list goes on, but this is the best white wine for our climate. It's also a red wine drinker's white wine because it has more mouthfeel and finish, and you get it's got more to it. I'm a huge fan of it, and and it could be perceived as sweet too because it has so much fruity flavors. A lot of stone fruit. You get a lot of peach, nectarine, a lot of cantaloupe. At least that's what I pick up in this wine.
I like the fact that you said it's a red wine drinkers white wine, and that makes sense. That and along with like Riesling for me, for some reason. But yeah.
Well, because again, Paso gets so hot that the white grapes can get overripe quickly. But this varietal needs the heat, and it ripens nice and slow, so it doesn't get overexposed. It doesn't get overripe. And the way I make our Viognier, which is a little different than most people, is I pick it in different stages. So we pick half the grapes early on when it's becoming ripe and ferment and age that in stainless steel. Then I come back to the vineyard and pick it again when the grapes are overripe and ferment that in French oak and then blend the two lots together. So you've got the first lot, which is more acidic and tart, refreshing and crisp, but lacks depth and mouthfeel. Then you've got that second lot, which has a lot of richness and depth and heavy finish, but maybe lacks acid. And I blend the two together, and it's just nice and balanced. It's just very complex.
Are you saying like 50-50 stainless and 50 and the other French oak?
It usually works out to about that.
I did not know that. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it's because, and again, I like to experiment. So our first couple of years, I did, one harvest in the middle. So if it was ripe at 25 bricks, we picked at 25 bricks. But again, picking one lot at 22 bricks and picking one lot at 27 or 28 bricks, making them separately, and then combining them a couple months later, that's the ticket. That works great. And then you get the best of both worlds working out together.
Yeah, I think these are both great red and whites for, especially like even people who don't know a lot about wine. If they go with a Pinot Noir or Viognier, that's like the go-to beginner's wine for me. Like that would I recommend, these two. A lot of people are aware of Cab. They're aware of Chardonnay, but Chardonnay, you get a lot of like buttery, I think a lot of butter, or at least it's a little different than what you would expect from Viognier, right?
Yeah.
And then same thing with the Cab, you get like more, depending on where it is too, you get like more pepper, like earthy, like all that stuff.
Right, exactly.
So these are like lighter and more consumer friendly in my opinion. And I think it's kind of cool that we're pouring at the theater. But a lot of people are asking, how did the logo or label come to fruition?
It's a great concept. I'm very proud of this, and it just really came together nicely. I grew up on the property and worked with the workers, with our Mexican American workers who are very pro Mexico, but they're also pro America. And I learned Spanish from them. A few of them have worked there all my life. They two of the guys were hired before I was born.
Oh, okay.
So they saw me grow up, and I became their jefe, became their boss. So they were, they've been teasing me all my life, and then to have me work alongside them, and I did all the hard work with them, and then to graduate, and now I'm the boss and working with them, and I wanted to feature them on the label because I've always thought, it's the people behind the scenes that don't get a lot of recognition. They're working in the vineyard, they're working in the winery, they know how to make wine because they've just experienced it every year, but no one knows who they are. And Uga, that's this man's name on the front, Uga, he was retiring in 2011 and was moving home to Mexico. And I took a picture of him and wanted to put it on a label. But it started with the other workers were saying, you know what, we want to take wine back to Mexico. They would go to Mexico every Easter and every Christmas. And they said, you know what, can we make a barrel of wine and we'll do all the work on the side after normal hours, and you Paul, you know how to make the wine now, so you can make it for us, and then we'll bottle it with extra bottles and we'll take it to Mexico. So I thought that was fun, and we could do it. So as like a Christmas gift, we made the wine, bottled the wine, and the wine came out great. It was our Hilltop Cabernet. We did this back in 2009, and Uga retired in 2011. But when we went to put a label on the bottle, I talked to them about it, and they said, "Oh, let's put a palm tree. Let's put our church in Mexico. Let's put a picture of our favorite dog back home." They had all kinds of ideas. I said, "No." I said, "We need to put you guys on the label." And again, most of them have lived here a long time, so they're known in the community, and they play softball in the local softball league. So I said, you know what, we got to put you guys on the label. And Uga, I had this picture of him that I took. I was always taking pictures of him because he's one of those guys where he doesn't mind if you take his picture. And he got teased a lot and joked around a lot. He was the oldest worker, but had the best attitude. And he wasn't the guy in charge. He was the guy who would, do any job that was asked of him, and had a great attitude. That's always what what I loved about him, was he, just worked hard, had a great attitude. So I did a mock-up of this picture I took of the label, and the workers laughed, thought it was funny, thought it was a nice joke. And then the back of the label has the rest of the vineyard team. And now
you got them on photos.
Now every year we change it to most of the people are returning, and they're back on the label. But then we have a couple new people that come in and out every year. But so we have Uga on the front, the rest of the workers on the back. And so I made the label, printed the label myself, put it on the bottles. They took most of the wine in Mexico. I had a couple bottles at the tasting room. Excuse me, just behind the bar, and I don't know why. I don't even know why I had those out. And lots of customers would ask, "Who is that man on that bottle? I want to buy that bottle." And I'd say, "Oh no, this is not for sale. It was a fun project we did for the workers so they could have wine." And I started thinking, you know what? This needs to be an official label. And at the time, I wanted to do an alternate label where we could sell wine to wine bars, supermarkets, restaurants. And it's nice to have a differentiation of, you know, what we do, but two different wine labels. So in 2011, I started it, and we do Viognier, Pinot Noir, Primitivo, and Cab. And again, we keep Uga on the front and switched out the back label to the current vineyard and winemaking team. And just a super fun concept, and it's grown a lot. We've got especially down in San Diego, there's a lot of restaurants and super wine shops that are
I've seen
through
it. I want to say I've seen it in Smart and Final too. I'm not going to say like Albertsons or anything, but I have seen it in stores. So it's actually a really cool thing, because I know a lot of people. Maybe Food for Less.
Yes.
I want to say Food for Less too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the idea that it captures your attention and you're just interested. And Uga, the man on the front, is just such an interesting character, and you could see it in the picture that he's got a story, and people relate to it. People see it and they think, you know what, I have a worker that I know who, you know, was just like this guy and just happy to work and wants to send money to his wife and kid in Mexico, and he's working here, and now he's retired and lives back in Mexico, and I call him every now and then and see how he's doing. But you
want to
really
say hi to Uga? Hey Uga, ¿cómo estás? ¿Todo bien?
Yeah, it was cool when I asked him about it too. He was just like him. I think he understood when I was asking him, but he just said, "Oh yeah, whatever you want to do." That's all fine with me, because like, this is gonna be a real label. This is gonna be sold.
Your face is gonna be
here.
Everywhere.
We go. Yeah,
he's like, all right.
He was totally down for it and interested in it. So, Hero is the name of the label, and again, it's the unsung heroes, the people that you don't see at the tasting rooms and wineries, but they're there doing the work, and again, they know how to grow grapes. I mean, I depend on these workers because, you know, after working in a vineyard for over 30 years, you learn how to irrigate and how to prune, and how to shoot and how to farm. And then you learn, you know, what spots on the property produce what type of flavors too. Yeah. And you can just see like, oh yeah, this spot on the property produces larger grapes, and this spot, you know, sees a lot more stress, and they're darker color. And yeah, so I really depended on the workers, and I've learned a lot through them, and just such a fun concept, and it's been growing. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm so excited. I'm happy we have it at the theater. I do want to take the time to tell you again, thank you so much for stopping by. I know you have a busy schedule, but it's kind of cool to say like I had a winemaker in here talking to me. And you know what's funny is like I know winemakers back early 2010, 2009, where Paso was barely starting to get like a name for itself, and it just blew up after a couple of years, right? I know winemaking or winemakers were so like not the side character, but like not as highlighted as much. And now you guys are like, oh, that's the winemaker. That's the winemaker. Oh, have you met the winemaker? That's awesome. You know, so I think it's a overdue recognition for you guys, of course. You know, especially since you guys put so much time, and I'm sure a lot of like man hours into actually being on the vineyard. You know, that's a majority of your life. You know.
Yeah, you don't realize how long days. I mean, we'll have 18-hour days, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of changing on the fly. You know, it's gonna it's during harvest. It might rain. We're gonna pick as much as we can before the rain, or it just rained. We need to pick as much as we can after before you get rot. Or I mean, there's so many things that happen. And again, with the workers, you know, they have a great attitude of, okay, yeah, we'll come in earlier tomorrow, or we'll stay late, or we'll pick on Sunday. We have extra people that can come harvest Sunday. I mean, it just you really get to live with these people and learn along the way. And yeah, it's a tough job, but it's a rewarding job. I'm just in love with it, and I love doing it. you know, it's already, we're a couple months away from the 2024 harvest, and I'm already planning and getting the equipment ready and just making notes and seeing how we want to do things differently. I mean, it's exciting. And what's nice is that you can't make the same wine twice. You can try to emulate what you did before, but you know, it's up to God. It's up to the weather. It's up to, you know, what's going to happen every year. Every year is different. And when you taste that wine from that year, you're getting a snapshot in time of what happened that year, what happened at the winery, what happened as they age the wine, and that always just makes it super fun too.
Yeah. Obviously, this is a Park Cinemas podcast. Any movies that you're excited for? Do you go watch movies to begin with?
I don't
know
go
you're a busy
to the
guy,
movies.
Stream at
I would
home.
love to. I watched The Chosen. Have you seen The Chosen?
I have not seen The Chosen yet.
Yeah, I saw it. That was in the theater. It wasn't in Paso.
We didn't get it. I think it was specific to like a third party provider.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of movies out there that we don't get, and anytime there is like a moment where like we can get our hands on it, like I mean, Jesus Revolution was not a really small one. That was actually pretty big, but like there's a lot of God's Not Dead, like those kind of movies. Very limited release. We try to get our hands on every once in a while, especially in Paso. There's a market for that, you know.
Right.
But The Chosen, I think that was very limited, and like we heard people wanting.
Yeah, it was tough because they released 2 episodes in theaters every month.
Yeah,
so you had to go see them before they were gone. Yeah, it was out in Santa Maria. The Atascadero Theater had a few of them, but not all the episodes. So yeah, I wasn't sure. But I love going to the movies. I don't do it enough. My son is 10 years old, and he enjoys it a lot. Yeah, so we're a lot.
He tells you, "Hey, this is what I saw at the movies." Well, now you can join him and support your own wine. But yeah, well, thank you, man. I appreciate your time, and dude, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel. This was really fun. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, man.